Welcome to the Energy Hour. The Energy Hour is brought to you by Quality Home Improvement, Southern California's premier residential and commercial contractor, making homes and businesses energy efficient, one building at a time.
What's going on, Steve? This is Chris, your host at the Energy Hour podcast. I am blessed today with three gentlemen in the house trading. I heard trade, flipping, creative finance. Steve is the creative financer from heaven. This guy's got it all, right? Steve Lazerson and Opportunities in Real Estate and Finance. What's up, Steve?
Hey, good to be here, Chris. And today I have two special guests with me, two great mentors of mine. Sitting here to my left is...
You have mentors,
Yes,
Steve?
I do.
Come on.
I
Okay.
do.
All right.
Andy Teasley, who is a specialist in creative financing. And to his left, we have Evan Brown, who is a house flipper extraordinaire.
I like this guy already.
I always thought I was dumb enter.
Hey, you never know, right? In this world, you never know. We're a jack of all trades and six of one and half a dozen of another, right?
There you go.
So, hey, Steve, so this is a really cool show for me, too, because Catherine and I, as you know, are kind of in the same creative finance / trading and flipping industry. And that's just another slice of the 8 pieces of pie I tell people to get in life. You know, if you don't have passive income of some way, you're working for the other guy. Who wants to work for the other guy, man? I divorced, the San Gabriel Police Department long time ago. And I got bit by the contracting industry. And hell, I'm doing podcasts part-time. Who knew, right?
Right.
So here we are. So Steve, tell me what's going on in the finance world today. I heard the interest rates went up just a smidge.
Yeah, they've been going up pretty much straight up for almost the last 2 years now.
Woo.
So we haven't had much of a break, but the house activity is still there. There's still buyers out there. People are getting a little bit more used to the higher rates, and some of the people, they've been sitting on the sidelines for a long time, just decided, hey, if we don't do something now, we may never do anything. We may go back to the early 80s when, the interest rates were in the teens.
Teens,
And
exactly.
20 and 20s.
Yeah.
20s.
Yes.
Jeez.
I get such a kick out of people talking about the high interest rates now. Those of us that lived through the 80s think these are just fun.
This is like get in or get out,
That's it.
right?
That's it.
Yeah, it's like 8 1/4 or something right now.
They're around the 8%
Okay.
rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, and we've gotten spoiled over the years because the last, let's say, since the 90s, we've had rates good as low as in the 2s, and now people that have a low interest rate on their first, they're now looking at getting HELOCs and lines of credit because they don't want to touch their first mortgage. But the people just coming in are, they're looking at these higher rates and, they're just having to deal with it at this time. And we tell them, as a lender, that at some point you'll probably see interest rates take a break and they'll subside a little bit, and that would give you a chance to refinance at that time.
You mentioned HELOCs, right? I mean, if you just didn't win the lottery or maybe $1 million in cash under your bed. I don't have a printing machine either, but I'm still looking for it. I got the place. I just don't have the ink. But, getting a HELOC is just as good. Borrow that equity on your home, get a second house. What do you think about that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, for some people, I'm not advocating it to use it to take a vacation or anything like that. But if you're going to build on your property, add square footage, build a second unit, something like that where, you're adding value, and normally the HELOC is going to be tax deductible, it's a far better alternative than using a credit card where the rate's going to be double and it's not going to be tax deductible.
Smart way to finance, buddy. HELOC is probably the best way to go, I think.
Well,
you know,
it's hard to beat seller carryback.
Ah, yeah, seller carryback.
That's the best.
I just have a question.
There you go.
So taking a HELOC and then going out and blowing it all in Vegas for the weekend is not the best way to try to. No, that's not the American way.
Well,
no.
Vegas might like it, but you might not.
All right. Just want to make sure.
Now, I did hear somebody who went to the Super Bowl and he took out a HELOC on his home so he could go to the game because the ticket
Get
was,
outta here.
Yeah, $40,000.
What?
So, and then he's going to be making payments on that loan for the next 30 years to watch a game for 3 hours.
If you have 6 months left to live and that's on your bucket list, by all means go for it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But
that's true.
otherwise, yeah. No.
Yeah, forget that stuff,
Nope,
right?
nope.
Disrespectful to the money. That's what that is.
Yeah. Wow, that's a hell of a payment to make for the next 20 years.
It sure is.
And hopefully his team won. Right?
I hope so.
That would suck. All right, so HELOCs, I mean, you've got a plethora of finance opportunities. I mean, there's nobody that I know that can pull, these rabbits out of your hat that just say, hey, what do you want? Steve comes up and he says, here's a cocktail of finance. What best fits you, right? So
Right.
I appreciate that. And we're still working on maybe getting some extra, fun money from you.
Sure.
So we can do some other things because we just finished 2 up in Georgia that you know about.
Right.
And we bought a couple new homes. But besides that, man, I mean, what else is happening in your life right now?
Well, right now, it's just trying to stay busy, doing, as many loans as possible, and also getting a lot of information from these two gentlemen because they get into a whole different realm, and it opens up, a lot of doors for people. We have Andy here, and he'll do some creative financing. Let him talk about some of that has nothing to do with the things, that I'm involved with.
So he runs under a different financial atmosphere.
Right.
You don't carry a hammer by chance, do you?
Have you ever thought about there's different kinds of sex? There are people that only want missionary sex. That's it.
I need to take notes.
Covers
Let me
on,
start taking
lights
notes.
out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me get you a pen.
Missionary sex. Then there's all kinds of other people that like kinky sex, and I won't go into the list of all the different varieties of kinky sex that's out there. But
Keep going, Andy.
Steve likes missionary financing, and I like kinky financing. If it's not kinky, I'm not interested in it.
You're not interested.
That's right.
I like this guy. What does it say? Envy is ignorance on his chest. I love it.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Peter Fortunato, a wise man.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're the creative guy.
Yeah.
So
I'm
what kind of creativity have you done in the past, or what are you doing right now?
How long is this podcast?
right? I mean, seriously, it's pretty cool.
So I've done raps, I've done partials, I've done carrybacks, I've helped people by structuring a deal. So right now we've got a prime opportunity coming back at us that I see. There are people that have these wonderful 2% loans, and life has given them a situation where they need to move.
On a 2% loan?
But they need to move. They got a job 1,400 miles away. They got a problem. The house is inconvenient.
My Tesla won't go that far without charging 12 times.
Don't get me started about
Right?
coal-powered
That's
cars.
a whole nother thing.
So we're able with those people to take over those loans, buy them subject to that existing loan. Because quite frankly, a 2% loan is probably worth more than the house they're selling.
Yep, financing.
And then to come in and teach them about a seller carryback and taking a second, so their profit is tied up in a note, and then introducing them to someone who's willing to buy a portion of that note or lend on a portion of that note so it's tax-free. We can structure those deals. And the more complicated they are, the more fun they are.
Unheard of. I've never heard of that before.
Many people have.
That's creative.
Okay.
So you get a guy that actually will give you a note in your own 2% of the house, right? And then you borrow that to do whatever you need to do.
Right. So
then you venture off.
Let's say you got a $250,000 note loan, the 2%. against your house and it's worth $300,000 today, and you need to move. Well, how much do you really need to move? You need the cost of moving physically, your furniture from one place to another.
Yep.
And first and last, because you're probably going to rent for a while you get used to the place and make sure the new job actually works.
Yep.
So you don't need $400,000. That whole $50,000, you don't need it.
Okay.
So one of us would come in and actually give them a $75,000 note. So they're selling for $25,000 more than their house is worth today.
Wow.
But because of that note, that 2% loan, it's worth it to us.
Okay. Yeah.
And we might give them a $75,000 loan at, say, 10%, which is a really good return on your money today. And then if they need that money to move, and let's say they needed $30,000 to move and get their first and last, we would introduce them to somebody who would happily buy a portion of that note or lend on that note. The difference being that a loan is tax-free and a purchase, if you sell it, then that's a taxable event. So either way, we get them the money they need. They're going to wait a little bit to collect that profit that's coming in the future, and they're not going to have their credit ruined by abandoning a good house.
What a genius way to do this. They get to keep their principal residence. They're just borrowing on it a little bit.
Well, no, they're going to sell their principal
Oh,
residence.
they're going to sell it.
They're going to
Okay.
move 1,400 miles
Oh,
away.
okay. I got you.
Job transfer or whatever.
Ah, there we go.
So I end up owning the house. They have a note for $75,000, and I've got to pay the $75,000 note, and I have to pay the mortgage on the house.
Mortgage on the home, yeah.
And presumably my tenants can afford to make that payment for me because that's the only house I'll buy. So the tenants
Good cash flow.
Absolutely.
You know?
It doesn't cash flow. I don't buy alligators unless they're really, really short alligators.
Yeah.
So they've got this note, and then I'll introduce them to someone who can cash out part of that note a number of different ways. So they're going down the road. Their credit's staying good because if I bought their house, I'm going to be making that payment every month.
Yeah.
My tenants are going to pay me rent. I'm going to turn around and pay the notes, and life is going to be beautiful for everyone.
And everybody wins.
That's right.
Wow, that's great. You know, who needs a foreclosure on their record, right?
Nobody.
Don't they stay like for 2 years or 2 to 4 years?
Well, it used to be 7, but
Woo!
life changes.
That's like a bankruptcy almost, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, foreclosure. So you're saving their credit, you're giving them the opportunity. They get what they need, you get what you need, and your partners that are doing this together get a little piece of the action.
It's a win-win-win. That's
Gosh.
the only kind of deals I like to structure.
I need to talk to you about a couple people. We get some of that going.
You know, the hardest thing to teach people that students of mine, people I meet, is that if you're thinking about having a buy and hold house, a rental house, the least important factor on owning a buy and hold house is the purchase price.
Yes, exactly.
I always overpay for houses. I have a huge reputation in my neighborhood as being the crazy guy that pays too much for houses. And it lets me buy lots of houses.
Wow. So you have a great formula you've used over and over again.
Oh, yeah, it's really complex.
Okay. Yeah. And then you just introduce the right people to the right opportunities, and everybody wins. I like that.
Yeah, my company is called Problems into Profits.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Problems into Profits.
Yep.
Now that's a cool name.
I think so.
I like that. Yeah.
I like being able to
.com?
help people.
.com?
Don't have the .com.
Oh, just a name. Okay, you got to
I'm
do that.
old. Come
Oh
on
my
now.
God. You can't be over 55.
Yes, I can.
We're all kind of creaking in this room, except you. You're not at the.
I just turned 55.
Okay, so you're a part of the club now. All right. I'm part of the 6-0 club, so.
You see, I can collect Social Security if I choose to.
Oh.
I'm planning that it won't be around when I'm there.
You know, they
The
keep
the fact
look at
that
the naysayers. The naysayers here.
It
Stop.
will be, but I've planned it just in case if it's not.
Oh, there you go.
By getting into real estate.
Yes.
Smart guy.
So that was the idea.
You can't lose in real estate. The cool thing about it is everybody
Well,
has
you
to.
can if you ignore.
I heard that a lot in 2007.
Yeah, that's a different story now. What do you guys honestly think about all these? Because when they had those problems, I think 2015, 2016, they were doing these modifications. Heard about those, right?
Sure.
They're taking 100,000 off the top, putting it at the end, and giving them a 5-year window plus and saying, when that 5 year clears up, you got to pay what you're paying now plus that $100,000 at the interest that we haven't been charging you. I actually went to a house, and this lady was just in tears. One of her banks just told her, now you got to pay back what we've done. It was like 5 years later.
Right.
She was at 18%.
Oh, on the extension.
On the extension.
Holy cow.
I'm just like, how can you do that to somebody? Her first was good. Her husband was making enough money to do that. But the extension, she didn't have anywhere to swim out of this hole.
See, she negotiated that poorly.
Yeah, because that's I wasn't seeing anything like that. Matter of fact, I went through 12, 13 years ago on my used to be my primary residence, but we bought another house in 2008 after the crash. Everything tanked. We weren't in real estate. We weren't doing what we're doing now. We just had a job.
Yep.
But when we noticed, hey, we could buy a house twice the size of our condo for less than we paid for our condo up the street, and we bought it, and then started renting out the condo at pretty much $1,000 a month negative cash flow. Because we were one of those accidental landlords, but we were happy we could afford it. That was great at the time. But go along a few years with pay cuts and the economy and stuff, we ended up having to try to do one of the loan mods. This goes back before your 2015 issue. But eventually, after about a year, we first of all, no one would work with us until we skip a payment. So we started skipping payments. And after a little while, we did get a contract in the mail where they took about a third of what we owed, put it on the end. I don't have it. It sits at, I want to say 0% interest, maybe 1% and I never have to pay it as long as until I pay off the first. So it dropped the payment over $1,000 a month, and we went from a negative to a break even. Well, to a break even
was good, yeah.
And I still paying that note. And I had sat down with my attorney, and I sat down with my tax guy, and the attorney was like, give it back to the bank. And the tax guy goes, because it's not your primary, you're going to owe Uncle Sam $50,000. And so I said, I'm going to keep it. I'll eventually pay. It'll eventually be a winner. Well, right now I still owe like $295,000 on that condo. However, I do cash flow about $1,000 a month now, finally, after 17 years. But if I sold it right now, I'd put about $150K in my pocket.
Not a bad deal,
but I'm not
man.
selling it. It's
a keeper.
Yeah, because I don't have to make any payments on that second. It just sits there.
You're doing what they call other people's money.
Yeah.
You're taking advantage of that. You talked to the right people. You made the right kickoff. And now you're a part of the positive side of that coin.
Right.
But it took you that long of adversity.
Right.
And the things that were going in your head, right? You're in the middle of, whoa, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then the stars started to align, and here you are today talking about it. The same property, and you're making money.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why we did keep it is I was going to pay Uncle Sam or keep a negative cash flow. Well, either way, I was losing, and at least I had the tax advantages, and we had other changes that happened. So I just knew if I held it long enough in this case that it turned into be a winner. And that's what we did there. And
that's still on your books today.
Yeah, it is.
That's so badass, man.
It's one of my better properties too.
Really? Ah, okay.
Yeah. So,
well, good for you, man. That's just sweet. That's just really, really cool. I'm glad to see a situation turn into something positive.
Right. And we just did it's been about a year and a half now. We did kind of what Andy was talking about. We did a subject 2 on, it was a veteran. He was in Afghanistan, and he got into a car accident in Afghanistan, and he was suffering from PTSD. He said it wasn't combat related, but I don't know. And we had bought a house from a relative of theirs, and they said, hey, we need help. We went in, a beautiful home up in Apple Valley, and home's nicer than the house I live in. And he bought it 2 years before and never made one payment. He got in he never made a payment. He got in as a VA and just didn't. So he had that when they were letting you, what's the term? Forbearance.
Forbearance.
They were letting him forbearance because it was during COVID and everything. And it turned out that they, after working with them, I told him, look, I have $40,000 I can give you cash. That's what I have to work with. And we came up with a number of different ways to buy it or have my wife sell it for him. And we ended up trying to, in the house, they had devalued the property. They literally had, his wife must have been about 5'5", and she was trying to paint 12-foot tall ceilings.
Oh, goodness.
In black, and she stopped.
Oh.
She stopped wherever she was. So she would raise. So you just saw the half the house was like this. It was really
Two-tone wall, right?
two-tone wall, not even. Yeah. And they let their 4 or 5 year old kids paint the bedrooms. It was just horrendous. But we ended up lending them. We basically put some money in and to the house and they were going to sell it on the market a couple of years ago. But the market around Christmas time, it was actually started dropping because it's a higher price home up there. And I just said, tell you what, here's my offer. It's a backup offer. And once they got to the point where they were going to get the same amount of money, we just said a sub-2 deal, took it over, gave them, they walked away with about $30,000. And the forbearance they had worked out to where the 40, 50 grand that they owed went onto a second on the back, and they don't ever have to pay it until the first is paid off.
Get out of here.
So,
whoa.
yeah, they bought a place, got in for no money, with just VA
is pretty much free.
Right. It just in
It's
case
like
the seller cost
0%
maybe.
or something like that.
Right, and then they walked away $30,000 and lived in the house for 2 years. And we took that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we took that over for, it's like $2,200 a month, and we rent it for $36,000 because
Now?
there's another home on the back. So
Double
Yeah.
property, R2.
yeah, so it's an
man.
ADU on the back. So
Perfect.
yeah, so it's been another good one. So
Tell me something about the that situation. First and foremost, congratulations on helping this guy. You took him out of a hard spot, and he's every time your ears ring, he's probably talking about you, right?
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Like I said, we had bought either his brother-in-law's house or sister-in-law's house. We had helped them out in the situation as well, and that's why they referred them to me.
Sounds like you need to keep track of his new house.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Nevada now. Yeah.
Plus, you got 30 grand to go.
Yeah, 30-something. Yeah, 34.
And then you helped him out in a crazy. And then you talked about this ADU.
Yeah, the house had a 3-car garage in the front and a 3-car garage with a living quarters in the back, and it was like an acre of land. So we just rented it to one larger family, multi-generational, at a higher price, and they get to pay. They pay all utilities, and there's solar on it, so no electric really. So.
The fuel from the sun is free.
Yeah, so it worked out real well. That's
how many square feet is in this ADU?
It's small. It's like 500, 600, something like that.
And how many people
maybe
live there?
Maybe four. Sorry.
Four?
It's not even that. It's like 300.
What?
You didn't convert the garage.
No, because there was a multi-car garage and there was living space.
Okay,
it was
so
permitted.
you probably got another 10 by 10 in there.
Yeah,
and then
it was
converted the rest.
It was like 250 square feet, and we did take one of the bays as an extra bedroom. That's all we.
Oh,
we
wow! So you got the
it's
utilities
300
in there.
Yeah,
and it now favors. How many people are in that ADU?
Just two.
Just two people?
I think.
It's
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think grandma and grandpa are in the main house, so they just run back and forth.
Oh, wow. You got, son and daughter up in the front, grandma, grandpa. And
grandma and grandpa live in that main house.
And they're in the back.
A couple of kids, and then there's the 20-year-olds live in the ADU.
Oh, of course.
One of them does, yeah.
They're techies, so they're making good money, right?
I guess. We'll see. Yeah, they struggle paying rent lately, so we'll see.
So what's your positive income out of that ADU?
It's $1,300. Well, for the whole property, it's like $1,350 a month.
So you're making, out of everything on that parcel, $1,350 positive cash flow.
We have a
per
secondary insurance policy I'd have to factor in, but it's probably $1,100 a month we pay.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that if the renters don't pay?
No, that insurance policy is because we left everything else in place on the primary.
Okay.
We
Smart.
got added on, but we still have a separate policy on that just because the realities of the loan.
So let me get this straight. So when you had, and we all had at one point a JOB, right?
Yep.
We're all
Just over broke.
We're all
Yep.
just over broke. I say that all the time. It's interesting you said that. You and me have the same mindset. I think all of us do in this room.
Of course, I really don't have any way to remember.
That's a good thing.
8.5 years for me being gone from the JOB.
8.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, when I left the police department, I kind of did that part-time and did another job and stuff like that. And then I became a contractor. I don't know if it's been the best thing for me in my life, but, you know, it gave me entrepreneurism. It gave me a free spirit. It, you know, it gave me all the tools necessary to figure out that you don't want a JOB, right? You don't want to have to work for the big guy who's making money off you and everybody else.
Yeah.
To, at the end of the day, you know, he can throw you across the river, and that's just how it goes, right? So, you know, California being the at-will state that it is, the JOB I kicked out a long time ago.
Well, that's good. I have a good friend, and she's been at the same accounting firm for over 30 years.
Okay.
Thought she was very secure in her job, and I've been trying to get her to go on her out,
30 years.
go out and start her own bookkeeping service. And
Of course.
she's scared.
Really?
And they just informed her she's not working fast enough. They're going to be cutting her.
Stop it.
Hours over
After
salary.
30 years
30
of
years.
loyalty?
Yeah.
Probably on time every day.
Oh, yeah.
Got 5-star, you know, things all over her
Yeah,
desk.
Clients that love her.
Oh,
Yep.
my God.
I was living that life.
Yeah. it's
25
insane.
years, yeah. Yeah.
You an accountant too?
No, just
Oh.
the 25 years with a
Of
smaller
slavery?
company.
Slavery?
Yeah, but I really had the owner I worked for was the owner of the company was a great guy. He was a mentor of mine, and just entrepreneurship. And I knew we needed to leave. It just was the timing. And eventually, our real estate business got big enough to where I was losing money every time I walked into the job. I literally was losing money, and I could see it. And I had to tell him that one day. I said, I told him my bank account's running backwards as I'm standing here talking to you. I got to go. And
That's pretty bold, man.
No,
you know,
I literally, I love the guy. He's still alive and kicking. But 4.5 years later, 5 years later, I left, and then Angela, my wife, left about 4 months later. And COVID took out that company out of 39.5 years. And I was telling people that were there is still no job security. The company is a company. It's just the way it works. They're going to protect their family first. They own the building. And one day we could all be out of jobs, and the market's changing, it's printing business. And sure enough, a friend of mine that kept arguing with me about, no, you should work with the company and spend all your extra hours for them, and they'll take care of you, et cetera. At 62 or 63 years of age, she had to go to our competitor, and that's where she's working today. Because she didn't understand that when I was working on the side for my family, I was really protecting myself, because the dangerous, risky thing was just relying on the job. And she had a rude awakening, and I tried telling her. And
here it
luckily,
is.
we were in a fortunate place that we had people that we listened to enough that were able to do that. So grace of God.
You know, it's funny that you say that, but I tell this to people all the time. Eventually, the cheese is going to move.
That's true.
Am I right to say that?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, how we think and perceive things that are going on specifically today does not mean next month it's going to be the same. This is why I always introduce another line of passive income.
Yeah.
If you don't have a few streams, and I do this dumb thing online, you know, should I give myself a plug, Steve, right now?
Sure.
Yeah. It's called Virtual Santa. virtualsanta.com, and I'm telling you, you should get your domain name. I'm going to buy it if you don't. So
I won't miss it.
So since 1986, you know, I taped this old guy. You might be my next guy I may want to hire.
I suck at Santa. My wife did that to me when we first got married.
But really?
Yeah.
You're kidding. Was it true story?
Yeah, true story.
Oh, my
she
goodness.
Had a custom Santa suit made for me, and I hated it. I ran out of things to say to those kids.
You're like, get off my lap, Billy.
Yeah.
No, he kept saying, how much money will you have if you put $500 a month aside at 9% for 30 years? It was terrifying.
He's
the
trying
kids.
to get him into financing already. But you know,
Mommy, Santa's making me do math.
right? I mean, these little stupid things, and believe it or not, this construction business is passive income. So it's I write down this circle, I draw it on a piece of paper for everybody, and I put the 4 lines in it. So there's 8 pieces of pie. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, out of 24 hours, 8 hours you got to sleep. So you've already lost 8 hours. I only sleep 4. So I'm kind of ahead of the game, right? But, then the other 8 hours, I said, you got to be a slave somewhere working for the other guy in hopes that you make enough money after taxes to have a life for you and your family. I said, what are you doing with the other 8 hours? Well, let me tell you, 2 hours you're driving. 2 hours, you're on this stupid thing called social media. You're texting everybody. You're answering phone calls. The phone is killing us, right? And I said, you probably, after you shit, shower, and shave, you probably got an hour and a half to 2 hours left for you specifically to do whatever you like. Now, you know me, I'm a collector. I collect stupid stuff when I hang it on the wall, right? But, you know, and this light bulb went off in their head. They're like, I got to get some passive income. I says, yes. He was 34, and this guy today, you know, is me. So I had the contracting business. I did the Santa Claus. I did other things, you know, Halloween, because Halloween's almost better than Christmas. You know, people buy all these digital downloads and stuff like that as scary eyeballs. You probably saw one when you came in, right?
Okay, yeah.
You know, the pre-Halloween thing. And then now I'm doing this podcast because it's kind of a hobby and I like to speak. I mean, that's dumb, right?
You got the radio voice. You should use it.
Really? Oh, you were talking about your friend doing that. The guy Oz, he got into the voiceover,
Scott
right?
Rummel, yeah.
So, I mean, we all get in these opportunities all the time. We just don't realize that they should be grasped onto. And we don't do it. We don't do anything with them. So just like this one thing, you know, passive income is very important to have. You're doing the real estate, the house flipping, you're doing the finance, the creative finance, and all the trading of houses. Steve's doing, I mean, this guy's got, you know, a list of finance things, right? Steve needs some help, right? But, I mean, here we are, 4 entrepreneurs in this room talking about things that we do actively. So we have to think about, you know, what's the end game? Well, that's the last thing. All we got to do is think about the buckets we fill and what's the end game. And as far as I'm concerned, real estate's the deal.
Well, you're right.
I think real estate is the end game.
Well, so one of my goals
for anybody.
One of my goals is to make sure that I curse my grandchildren with debt.
Oh,
that they have several $1 million worth of home mortgages.
Cover your ears, David Ramsey. Cover your ears.
And literally, I want to make sure that they have lots of rental houses with tenants paying rent and paying mortgages, and they get that habit and grow their wealth. Because the only thing I know in the that is truly inflation hedged is a good performing house.
That's a great response.
So, yeah.
A good performing house. Who knew, right? Who thinks of those things? Except you and everybody else, right?
Well, that's why, again, as you know, Kiyosaki said, and even one of my other mentors, Mick, would say, is that even those of us that are just house flipping, he goes, you're not investing at all. You just got another job. It might be a well-paying job, but it's a job unless you turn that and transition that into something else. And so that was something that want to make sure that if you are flipping or doing something, a high-income earner, you're putting your money into something that's going to pay you monthly, and even when you're not working it, so, or at least managing it.
I mean, who doesn't want an S corp, a cash corporation? At the end of the year, you can flush that toilet, right, to where it's down to 25,000. You know, I'm kind of making okay. I'm not getting overtaxed, right? And I've got these things called houses that we've had to flip and fix or buy and hold. How about that, for example?
Yeah,
you're doing buy and hold. You got a couple now, right? How many?
Yeah.
How many would you say you have currently?
Couple dozen.
Okay.
We got
That's
doors.
not shabby.
We're in the 30s with doors, and then we have notes too. So
You got property management going on?
no, we handle that in house.
You do it in house.
Yeah.
Is your wife a real estate person?
Well, now she is.
Oh, so she took her DRE.
She did. We did that while we had our JOBs. We were like, if we can make a few extra bucks, because
why not?
Yeah, you know what? The reality is, she was a proofreader, and where we worked, and when you're doing contracts or ads or something for, say, Disney Corp, you have to be 100% perfect. You cannot be 95%. And so every time we were buying or selling a house, all she saw was all the mistakes and all the escrow, all the loan docs and the agents, and she was flipping out. She goes, I could do this better with my eyes closed and both hands tied behind her back. And she was 100% right. And so she started doing that on the side, and she just kept going, and we segued out of her jobs again.
She pre-trained herself for this future you're in now.
Right. And then it said something earlier that I wanted to bring up was that about moving the cheese. I told her, we were talking about this about 6 years ago. I said, I figured we got 5 good years at the time. We were talking about this morning. 5 good years before the future changes. Don't know what they will be. It'll be some Zillow or Redfin or some app, and not realizing with NAR and all the stuff and the lawsuits going on with that, and hearing those changes right now, I was like, hey, so far, it's coming. And who knows what's going to happen. So
you think we got a 5-year run?
Well, I think we're at the end of that 5 years, at least for my wife and I. We were planning that we had about 5 good years, make a lot of money, and then there'll still be plenty of money. But you're going to see, whether they're saying 1 million agents, 750 million agents, they think are going to be gone in the next 2 years, 3 years.
You know what?
You told that today, yesterday.
You just said the thing that I was talking about to several people last week. And I said, when this belt is shook, there's going to be so many people scattered out that are from the real estate industry. Everybody's an agent. You bump into somebody, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, oh, really? I went next door to, I love Annette next door, and Steve knows this, right? I took her class. I have enough hours to take my real estate class, but I said to myself, why? I got her. I got Steve. Right. Who needs anything? I got you guys now, right? Yeah. I said, who needs all that? But the education alone was super powerful. So remember, knowledge is power, right? You have the right information, you can do anything with it. But I was just like, do I really want to be part of that group?
See, and every time I run into somebody who's at the end of that education and they're getting ready to take their test and they're young, I say, you really need to do a Ben Franklin chart on the cost and benefits of taking a license.
Ben Franklin, for sure.
Because there's no way you could saddle me with that harness. I just could not stand all the rules and regulations. Not being able to walk past a for sale sign to buy a house, that would just drive me insane.
You know what? And learning the logistics, the car and the NAR and all this other stuff. And you got to spend $1,000 a year. You got to renew every 4. I'm just like, I already do that with my contractors. Why do I need a secondary, crutch?
Well, it was easy. It was the last, 4 or 5 years have been the run up, and with the rising prices and the low interest rates at the time. You make a lot of money as an agent pretty easy. The issue, again, is what are you doing with it? Are you buying something else? Mm-hmm. So when I meet someone that says, I want to buy some income property and I want to work with an agent, it's like, fine, but make sure you're working with an agent that owns income property.
Yeah, right.
Because if you don't, I think you're wasting your time. Sorry, they can find something, but they just don't know really
Make
what to
sure
look
that
at.
Pocket fits.
Yeah.
And then you go to Netflix, right? And all these other, online TV things. And, hey, houses in Beverly Hills. These young girls and guys, I just made $250K. And they don't realize there's an IRS code called AMT, Alternative Minimum Tax.
Yes. Yes.
Over 150 grand, you make half. Right. So what? I mean, that's not wealth, right? You don't want to work to give the IRS as much money as you can.
Right.
They're going to take it from us anyways. So you don't know all the other rights that we own, right? So why the hell you making over 150,000 a year? You're driving a fancy car. Oh, my house. Now, did you hear about that new tax they imposed in Los Angeles? If your house is like over $5 million, there's another 5%, club. You get slapped on the side of your forehead for owning this thing.
The party of theft and envy.
So true, right?
Right.
So people aren't really paying attention. Am I right to say that?
Well, a lot of people don't put 2 and 2 together. They just see that and they don't even give it a lot of thought. They don't know.
Or they hear it from an acquaintance. I took that course from, Bob whoever.com, and, I paid $150,000 to be a guest speaker. I paid $50,000 to do all this other stuff, but I'm still broke.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know what's funny? Someone just came to me recently, and Andy, I don't know if you
Hell, you should
heard
talk.
this.
Come on.
One of the guys, a friend of ours, they're both agents and they're investors, and they own a lot of rental property. But they got caught up in. He's mostly was riding motorcycles the last few years, but she got into doing like 30, 40, 50 houses a year, just making a fortune.
Oh boy,
really good money.
Yeah.
But being nailed in taxes. But
There's
both
a consequence.
but he called me and was talking to me. His name's Al, and he was talking about his boys and trying to get in real estate some years ago. And I said, well, I told him my thoughts and said, have him call Andy. So both the kids, they were like 20, 23 now, or whatever. They took Andy's class on mobile homes, et cetera. Anyway, and they made a lot of money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. These 20-year-old kids.
No kidding.
But then they recently, they went and got their real estate licenses, and so
much to my chagrin.
But one of them walked up to me about 3 weeks ago and goes, "I'm getting back into the investing side. The reason why, is I made all this money last year, and with all the taxes and everything else, and I have nothing that's from my work this year that's going to carry me next year."
That's right.
And he goes, "I got to go right back to this. I don't know why I did this." More or less, he still had a good time and learned a lot, but it opened his eyes, and he got that at 23. I don't know, it's Rudy, yeah.
I'm glad that he had the experience, and thank you for teaching him, because you kind of opened his eyes a little bit.
Yep.
But the thing these millennials do not understand is the IRS tax codes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at the penal code, the vehicle code, you get a ticket and all this other stuff, but wait a second here. When that thing comes to your mail, it has a little bird on it, little wings and stuff like that. It says Internal Revenue Service. That's when the shit starts to happen.
That's a pucker factor when you get some of those in the mail. What now?
What did I do? And they go, hey, we've noticed that, or they're not filing taxes properly, or they're late.
Yep.
And they really, or they have a corporation, they don't have minutes. All this stuff, this veil gets peeled back, and all these millennials are taking a nosedive right into a huge pile of cement, and it's been dried for 100 years.
It's because nobody ever told them they needed to read The Richest Man in Babylon and apply those systems.
Right.
Learn to live on 70% of what you make.
There you go.
And no one teaches finance in high school and junior high.
I wish they did. I wish they talked about, investing in homes, finance, and, forget all the other. I mean, I don't know, geometry 12. I don't need it in what I do now, right? It's basic math. Thank God I can, 2 + 2 = 4. Who uses that? They use their damn cell phone, right? It does it for you.
Right.
But, all those principles should have been applied when we were kids. The cool thing about it is I'm kind of glad they didn't teach me that in a way, because I had to take the school of hard knocks. Did you?
Well, I unfortunately had a very strong John Bircher, very, very money-oriented finance mentor when I was in my teens.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
The one lesson that he tried to grind into my stubborn head was that ownership is nothing, control is everything. And I don't think I really learned that lesson until I was in my 20s, and he was long gone. And so if you
control is everything,
and ownership is nothing.
That's you're only owning it temporarily, right?
Well, I don't own anything.
But you control a lot.
I control a lot.
Control a lot. That's great. I love that.
Well,
that's great, man.
And I pay a lot of good money for tax education. I'm in Puerto Rico at least once a year for a tax class.
Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
No kidding. Son of a bitch. Of course, do you write that off?
Absolutely.
I love it.
That's the best part. Is he's a really good malicious observer of the tax code.
So I like the word malicious.
He teaches his class across a weekend, and since it's not financially feasible to fly home for the weekend and then come back on Monday for class, you get to stay the whole weekend and write off the whole weekend while you're in Puerto Rico.
Damn! I hate when that happens.
The tax code fun.
So these millennials, these new entrepreneurs, and these people getting into this home flipping trading business, what is the very first piece of advice? Now, there's a lot of these newbies coming out, right?
Sure.
There's a guy downstairs that, I think he buys wholesale. Steve, am I right?
Yeah.
Mike buys, distressed properties and he wholesales it out. He makes 10 grand real quick. He drives every exotic car that I know. I mean, I see him come in these, these big Mercedes boxes and the Lamborghinis, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to be that popular, because once the spotlight hits you, you're like, hello. They put you on the cross and start dissecting you from the head down. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you kind of get where I'm going with this, right?
Well, you're talking to a guy that drives a used Muni truck.
I'm about ready to get rid of my Tesla and get a used Prius. Think and grow rich. How about think and just look poor? How about that?
Well, that goes back to one of our mentors, Mick, like I said, passed away last year. You would have thought he was the janitor wherever you were. And I don't mean that disparagingly. He just literally would wear a 20-year-old shirt, and he just wasn't important to him. It just wasn't,
It was so much fun when there'd be some new guy coming to the real estate club back in the day. We had a good club, 200 people in a ballroom at Michigan.
Wow.
And they'd be fawning over the property manager because he was always the best dressed guy in the room.
Of course.
and he didn't have two nickels to rub together unless he could charge it to a client.
Yeah.
I'd drag him up to the front of the room, and we'd stand on the stage, and I'd say, turn around and look out into that room, and I want you to pick the richest man in the room. And inevitably, Mick would be sitting in the first or second row, wearing a holy green T-shirt, suspenders,
I love it,
khaki shorts, and Red Wing brogans that were at least 10 years old.
Here's my khaki shorts.
And a baseball cap half the time.
And they never picked him.
Never picked him.
He could
of
buy,
course.
He could buy half of the houses that everyone else in the room owned out of those 200
cash,
people. Oh,
probably.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. He didn't have cash sitting around. That would be sinful.
No, he would leverage. Okay.
Right.
All right. He'd leverage.
But yeah, I mean,
isn't that funny?
It's interesting. You were talking about 5 years in the 5-year thing.
Yeah.
A mentor of mine named Jimmy Napier used to say, we all have to serve 5 years of sacrifice in our lives. And it's up to you whether you choose to serve that 5 years when you're young and healthy or when you're old and ugly and in the old folks' home. And
5 years.
5 years. If you focus on building your wealth for 5 years, if those two 20-year-old kids just busted their hump and socked away notes and rental houses for 5 years, they'd be done for the rest of their life.
The rest of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
kind of interesting, right?
No,
what a great way to put it.
Totally true. Yeah.
So, am I hearing that you guys might do a TED Talk or something? I mean, let's get these youngins into this room and say, okay, everybody, everything you've learned up to this point, completely eradicate that from your brain and listen.
Yeah.
Take notes.
Yeah, years ago, 30 years ago, I first heard Robert Kiyosaki. Just as I think the ink was still wet on this book.
Oh, wow!
And I saw him speak, and he was not. He was like nervous. It was really funny. It was this. It was very
sweat
new.
rolling down his forehead.
Yeah, it really was that.
Okay.
And but something he said that day is that because everyone was like, oh, go to school, go get a college, get better education, you'll be better off. And then someone said, go to your high school. Okay, and look at the teachers' parking lot versus the students. And guess what? I did that. I went back, drove by the old high school, and went, the students are driving nicer cars than the teachers.
Oh,
and that's when it went, it's not related to that. It's not related to just more education or degrees. It's like, what kind of education and who are you listening to and who are you? Anyway, it was an eye-opener.
It's interesting that Kiyosaki would judge by vehicles.
Well, he mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's all.
You do know. You look at all of the wealthy old real estate people that we know.
Yep.
And I think the average of the total value of the vehicles that they drive is going to be under $20,000.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's totally true.
I think Pete says the most he ever paid for one was $2,000.
Yeah. That goes back to the which mentor you have.
That's right.
And you were talking about RVs earlier. I'll let someone take the bath, but On the vehicle, I'll
Yep.
do what I still call the Mike Cantu method, where I buy investment property, then I go buy whatever toy I want, let the tenant pay for it, and I subscribe to that. But I'm not doing that directly with the RV. I'd just rather write a check and be done on a small lower. Let someone else take the bath.
Let the
I
bath
got Nick
be-
in my ear
Yep.
on that one, still just hitting me.
I'm just telling you, the Delano is a fantastic. I'm going to say it again. My buddy's a giant RV in Colton, California. If the Delano, the Mercedes chassis with the Delano Thor makes it, is the best thing on the planet.
Yeah, okay.
Now that we know how to use it 2 weeks later. But you know, you got to, hey, I have a crash course, so come and see me. I'll teach you all the things you need to know. But you know what? When it comes back to these kids now, this is what really perplexes me. The government, you got these ads, you got all these other kids. They're going to freaking college. There's a collection company. I don't know if you guys know it, that I think Mike owns, that's up on the second floor, of college kids collecting on college kids that don't know how to pay their notes back.
Don't you wish you worked at that place when you were in college and learned the lesson?
I think he makes a majority of his money from there. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, these kids, I know a girl right now who's 23. She went to 4-year college. She has $120,000, $130,000 debt. Her parents have this thing called a parent loan, and they're in their 80s.
Ooh.
They're sucking up on $300,000. They will never be able to pay this off. Mm-hmm. And she's on vacation somewhere in Europe.
Gee, what a surprise.
I'm not following this. Are you following me, right?
Yep.
So these kids if they're going to be doctors, that's a different story.
No, it's not.
No?
No. If you look at a guy who gets out of high school, goes into apprenticeship as a plumber.
Yep.
And you compare him to another kid in his same class.
Yeah.
Who went to 4-year degree, then medical school, then whatever the heck they call it, residency.
Yep.
Hit them both at 36, and guess who's got more wealth?
It's the guy that's doing the HVAC work and the freaking plumber.
Yeah.
The plumber all the time.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a leaky pipe, man. Shit, or busted air conditioning.
Try to hire an air conditioner anytime after.
Right.
That's true, right? But you're right. These professionals, these people going into college right now, first thing I tell them is like, save your money. What are you doing? Take the 5-year crash course of life. Get into freaking housing. Start learning the mechanics of all those things. Learn about financing. Learn about buy and hold. Learn about paper. Learn about all these things. And then you can make that decision if you really want to pursue down that path.
Right.
Because it's only 5 years. I mean, look at this year. It's already blown out. Right?
Yeah,
2023 2023 was a blur as far as I'm concerned, right?
The grayer my hair gets, the shorter the year lasts.
Yeah. Well, we're at the point, we had another mentor of ours, and he mentioned Pete Fortunato. Is that where the shirt?
Huh?
Is that, yeah.
I got a Pete shirt on.
Yeah, he came in and I picked him up at the airport, and when we were driving, I was talking to him, and he kind of came down to, for many years we were going after the almighty dollar, really, through real estate, but that's what it's about. And then he started talking about peace of mind when we were driving and over the weekend with us. And so while we were talking, he said some things, and I realized that, and every year I kind of pick a theme or a topic that I work towards that year.
Nice.
And the rest of this year, next year, is peace of mind. So we're doing deals or structuring deals to where if we can get out of something or get it off the books or to make life a little more peaceful, even if we give up some money, fine, because we're now just trading more of what we're looking for because we want more peace of mind than the money, because we don't have to keep doing this. We just want to do it a little bit, but we don't have to flip up
maybe,
on,
right?
Well, yeah. In other words, we can just again, it's just about maybe taking your few troublesome properties and turn it over to somebody else and split profits with them, or doing some sandwich option with them to where they can or master lease it. Well, they can handle all the management of it and then release it to somebody else, and they can deal with any broken toilet. Say anything. Just imagine getting a couple of your headaches off and onto somebody else, but you still stay in the deal one way or the other. And or partner more. So there's a couple things that we're doing that we're really looking forward to.
So is that more structured for a California, approach?
That doesn't matter.
Can you take that principle anywhere?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let me just say, earlier we were talking about the RV, and I said we have a second home.
Yep.
Well, in this specific case, one of the deals we're doing, we're going to turn it over to our son and master lease it for 4 years. So we get $1,300 a month off our bottom line. And then once we actually get in the nitty gritty, it's about $900 that's really all is our minimum monthly nut, let's call it. So if he can go midterm it for $2,500, $3,000 a month, or long term it for $17,000, he can have all the upside. We'll take care of the roof, we'll take care of the heater and the water heater and a couple of things. And it's just off our books, but we now save $1,300 a month. We still have ownership. We still have that. We'll be responsible for the big ticket items, but let him go make money for the next 4 years. And at the end of 4 years, we'll decide what we do. We're going to go do the RV thing. Yeah. And so we're just shifting, and that's just getting something off and preserving cash, but keeping the equity and everything else. So, but we're doing that or something similar in a couple areas we're looking into now.
See, that's key as far as I'm concerned, the equity word, right? Yeah, houses are, let's not talk about Highland Park in LA. That's catastrophe ready to happen. Right. These little R1, they have 2 properties, they're getting all kinds of crazy rent. A friend of mine has that right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I don't think it's going to go higher. I think it's going to, do the tumble and go.
Here's the problem. We have a huge housing shortage in this state, and the government is making it impossible to build affordable housing. So as long as the government keeps stopping builders from having any motivation to build an affordable house, we're going to have a housing crisis in this state for the foreseeable future.
Housing crisis.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's a crisis, yeah.
So you think, but you can only get so much rent out of a specific spot, or our tent's going to be kind of sought after in the future.
Number one, they're doing the right. The government in the state is actually.
You got Title 24
as far
to deal
as ADUs, they're on the right path.
Yeah.
And now there's a way that they can start selling off an ADU under certain circumstances, which was interesting. I saw that yesterday.
Selling off an ADU?
Yeah, a homeowner could sell the ADU on their same property, but I didn't go through it all, so I can't comment. Except
maybe it's
Newsom signed it.
A zoning thing, maybe.
Don't know, but imagine if it's free and clear, there's a way to sell off the home.
See, that's cool. If they did that, wow. You can keep your primary and sell off your secondary? Yeah. That's cool, man.
But otherwise, Andy's right on the issue. I listened to Stephen Thomas and John Williams, 2 different people on their reports on housing and stuff. And again, with the high interest rates, 80% of the people have 4% and under, Steve, 4.5% and under, whatever it is. It's like the majority of people
they can't afford to move.
You're not going to move. So it's hard to have a price crash when even though the inventory's gone up and days on market's now about 5 days longer and so forth over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have a crash when there's no inventory. It's just not seeing it.
And then we got Biden letting everybody in through the Texas side, right? And they're taking my, most of these guys are going to be sitting on the grassy knoll taking my work. So my cheese is moving, if you will, right? So we're being creative. But what about outside of California?
Pretty much the same.
I don't know. We just, listen, the money that we have now, we did better in Georgia than in California. I mean, you can go to a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 2 bath. It's no longer 2 and 1. It's 3 and 2, right? So investors shook all those things and got them out of the way. But a simple 3 and 2 in California, man, if you don't have 700, if you're not going to an auction, a fire burn, or something that just fell apart, it's going to be difficult to get something, man.
Yeah, we just bought a house here in California for $90,000 stick build.
Was this a repo off the books?
Nope.
Somebody just didn't need. Are you like
90,000?
They had a problem.
Yeah,
and you solved
and
it.
then the other one was 100 and something. Another one was 100 and something.
I'd like to get into the probate industry. Trust me.
We do that too.
Really?
Yeah, probate. I'm in one now.
So am I right?
I'm doing a sub 2 probate right now.
Sub 2 probate. Okay. Well, so that's smart to get into, right?
Well, when you
if you have the education, then you can do it.
Yeah.
it's a whole nother world.
So you got a house for 90. What was the value? What's the value currently?
What's it rent for?
You know what? It's only about 600 square feet. Rich would probably have a better idea, but I think you could rent for 1,600, but it needs 60 grand
to rehab.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you could sell it for over 200 and something thousand to somewhere.
Why would you sell a nice house like that?
Well, it goes back to, why, but it depends. Depends upon the purpose of that
If you
particular
sell that house,
company.
how much
Purpose
if
of
you
the
sell
home.
that house, how much money are you going to make the next year?
Yeah. Well, again, it depends on what you're doing with the money.
1031, baby, right? Split it up and put it in a couple of.
Right.
That's what we decided to do. We took a house, it was at the top of the equity chain, and it's currently, on the market, and we're going to do a 1031, and we put it on 2 brand new places in Georgia.
Right.
A couple $100,000 in Georgia is like, having a mini mansion in Beverly Hills.
Right.
So
You see how beautiful these places are?
You set yourself up for a reverse exchange, so you're ready to go.
Say that again.
Or you set up for a reverse exchange, the 1031, because you bought before you sold. You
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
structure it different.
Well, no,
Are you working with an accommodator?
No, we're actually the lender on property is going to take the housing sales from California to do it in Georgia. He's going to wait for the house to sell. The house is not going to be built till
you just
April.
got it optioned.
We have an option.
Good. Okay.
We can do A or B, but I prefer to do the 1031 because that's cash in the freaking hopper.
Yeah.
Right. All we got to do is have $1 over what we sell it for, and then everything else kind of fits into place.
I can help you with
And
that.
2 brand new houses. Oh, really?
Yeah.
We need to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love these creative things, and we want to diversify other things, kind of what we got on our plate, and to be able to not leverage yourself because you can only buy so many houses. Am I right? Then your debt to income's crap. And, you don't have
you're
any
talking about banks then. Debt to income is something we don't use normally.
You don't use it
He's
at
going
all.
to fall off his chair if you say
Really?
that again.
Yeah, what's
DTI is a bad word.
My
It
debt
doesn't-
to income is what, was it about 85%? 90 maybe?
Yeah. Right.
Again, you're talking about traditionally or you're talking about,
So you're going to show me this path that I haven't seen before,
Sure.
obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I
'Cause
help a
I'm
lot
think-
of 1031s.
I'm thinking old school at this point.
Shame on you.
Shame on me. Okay, and he's smiling. Look at this. He's got this big shitty grin on his face going, OMG, right?
Did you realize that in anyone that's in the county of Riverside or San Bernardino has an opportunity for $35 a month to come to 15 good, solid educational events every month? That's a little over $2 a class.
They do?
Yes. The Inland Empire Real Estate Investors Club is the most active investors club in the state of California.
And this is one you belong to.
I've been
Yep.
along.
You part
I
of
was
it?
at the second meeting.
So sign me up. I got my hand up. Steve,
Yeah,
are,
it's
you
right
are
here.
you going there?
Oh, I go.
Oh,
I'll be there.
am I the loose lamb here?
I'm a sponsor.
Oh, wow.
And tonight
Nice.
I'm teaching Sub 2, Creative
The
Finance.
real estate, the Inland Empire.
Real Estate Investors Club.
Inland Empire Real Estate Investors Club.
Right. And if you type the initials in and put .org behind it, you'll get our
Get the heck out of
website.
here.
Or you can
He
spend
does
50
websites.
or you can spend 50,000 with a guru and guess what he's going to tell you? Go find a local real estate club to go to after. Seriously, yeah. They all say the same thing.
Seriously.
Here's our info. Now go find a RIA club or something and
Are you guys a big club? There, I'd be
about 300 right now.
like 300 members.
300 members.
Something like that. Yeah.
So you have to bring a door gift when you come, or
Nope.
No, just an open mind.
just an open mind and listen and learn.
Some business cards and a notepad.
That's it.
Yeah. Come on.
Will you say that again for me, please? What you just said to join? What is it? The Inland Empire.
Real Estate Investors Club, IEREIC, and it's .org, because Lord knows those things don't make any money.
That's right.
The good ones.
The good ones. Right.
Every
So this is the one you were telling me
Yeah.
about, Steve. This guy was actually taking a phone book, slapping me on my forehead, shaking his head, going, "No, you got to wait till these other 2 guys come
Look,
in."
there's. And let me tell you, I have a buddy of mine that's been a really good friend of mine. I ride motorcycles with him too. That's a premise of a lot of my stories. I ride
Nice.
motorcycles with this guy. Anyway, he's a broker and he's an agent and he's young. He's in his 30s.
I like him already.
And he just finally bought his his own house. But he's worked for his family's company and all that, and he was out of San Diego, and he'll flip. Now he's flipping 2 houses a year, and that does okay.
That's okay, right?
And that for him is very good. That's a busy year for him, and this is him stretching. And I'm like, it's a very linear way to look at things too. So for a lot of people, do 1 deal, 2 deals a year. That's nothing wrong with that.
That's a good mindset to have, I guess.
Very linear if you want to think of it. But when you start thinking that you have all these different things you could be having work for you, your money working for you, sitting in an account over here, you could be working on, I'm gonna have my job and I'm gonna work hard and get the best bank loan and get the 30-year loan and maybe buy a house traditionally. As I'm working off market deals, as I'm working networking, solving my friends' probate problems, you could be having 3, 4, 5 deals a year just from family and friends and your just normal networking, just being out there, people you went to high school with, college with, junior high school with. And seriously, you can be making 6 figures a year without much effort just by that every year on top of it. So when you add that plus everything, and not just looking at it, I can do 1 or 2 deals and just open up what you can truly do. There's tons of options. But what happens is most people hear something on YouTube or they see something on Facebook and they don't know where to go. And so when you have a club like the IEREIC.org, where you have a bunch of people that some own hundreds of houses, others are doing ADUs, others are doing notes, etc. There's a plethora of ways, and you're only limited to your ability to understand and make sure you're asking questions. Really, there's just that pretty much sum a lot of that up.
You know what?
Andy?
You know what? I think that all boils down to the N word, the network.
Right.
Network network is your net worth.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that is completely true.
I really, really appreciate that. Thanks for writing this down for me.
Yeah.
Not that I'm dyslexic. I just didn't,
And good luck reading while you're writing.
Yeah, no, it's good. It came out better than mine, actually. But the networking is the plus.
And every Thursday from noon to 2, we have a live and in-person meeting in Riverside that's also on Zoom if you can't get there. And we do creative deal structuring. And we typically have between 5 and 12 commitments to do deals out of every one of those meetings.
Wow.
And to your friend that's flipping 2 houses a year, think where he would be if he just got in the habit of keeping 1 every other year.
Yep.
Keeping 1 every other year.
Yeah. Or every other year. That's all that would be in a much better position.
Yeah.
Just, let somebody else rent it for you.
Well, why start over every year? Every time, like you said, the old JOB thing.
Right.
Monday morning, you start, guess what? You got to work all these hours to get that paycheck, and you got to start over again and start over again. It was nice once you're dealing with, rentals, et cetera, to where you have equity, where you're owning equity and you have the cash flow that I remember counting it weeks. Oh, I got paid 4 weeks a month. So after the first deal, that it was like, I'm getting paid 5 weeks a month. And then it was 7, then 12 weeks a month. And then great, I'm getting paid for 35 weeks a month. Awesome. That was a game changer.
So the house flipper's in that same mentality, right? He likes to start over. First and foremost,
he starts over.
You got to freaking research the hell out of everything else. You got to compete with everybody. And then if you get it, then you got to fix it. And then once you've made this little piece of change, you got a 1031 or whatever you want to do, or you pay taxes on it, right?
If you're flipping, you can't 1031. You can only 1031 buy and hold.
No. Yep, right. Of course.
So if you're flipping, you're just paying taxes.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, imagine this. A lot of people, this is you come down to, you want cash flow or a pile of cash, right?
Cash flow is better.
Yeah, right.
Generally.
But there's a lot of people that get excited about the big pile of cash. I had breakfast or lunch with someone that he's involved in mobile home parks he owns. He does flips. He has some rentals, does a little bit of notes. And I asked him, why don't you really have rentals? He has like 1 or 2. So why don't you really have them? He goes, well, I was never excited about $500. And I was like, well, me either. But magnify that times 50. It gets pretty freaking exciting. And so because of that, the 5 years is going to go away anyway. Guess what? But then when it gets really good one day and you're like, that's more in a month than I made on my last flip and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an eye-opening experience.
So when we talk about the cheese moving, you're reflecting that also the flip market is really okay to start in, but it's really not where you want to end up.
You really want to say that?
For cash
I'm
flow.
not going to say flipping's okay.
I will say flipping.
You're going to say flipping no, right?
That's right.
Flipping is totally okay.
highly
but
taxed.
Yes, but if you structure, you can minimize some things. But yes. Yes, but if it gets you out of your job, and Kiyosaki will say this, once you've covered your minimum monthly expenses and you can start focusing on wealth, all sorts of doors open up. They will completely open up. And so, because now you're not spending all your time trying to just stay afloat. You now have time to open up, to look at other things.
This is why everybody else in the JOB is kind of in their own prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They encapsulate themselves in something they semi like to do, and they stay there, and before you know it, they've been there 20 years.
Right.
And that's when they burn. So you guys, I'm serious. You guys, I told this to your last Airbnb girl too. You guys need to seriously take this to the audiences out there and get paid for this knowledge.
So one of my goals, and I do teach. I actually
here we
have
go.
a
Right.
class.
All right. Here we go.
It's rip-roaring $500 to spend a weekend with me. And if I overloaded you on the weekend, you can come take it as many times as you need to till you figure it out.
Until you figure it out.
That's right.
Why don't you
Three
charge
takes.
$50,000 for that, Andy?
Hey,
I don't-
right?
I don't want to.
We're more of the Holiday Inn approach,
Yeah.
though.
I like that.
Motel 6.
Okay. Right.
So
Not a guru in that sense.
no, absolutely.
But
not.
I
That's
listen.
an
There's some
insult.
gurus I highly respect that I've met and did a lot for me personally, and I got stuff out of them. I never wrote them a check for big money,
Thank God.
but a lot of them, some of the better ones even will give a lot of free info, and then they tell you to go join a local RIA.
So as far as you're concerned, you would prefer to have a whole lot of a little than a couple of quickies like
I'd
the
rather
flips.
have 1% of the efforts of 100 men than 100% of my own.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it nice to have 30 families that go out every week to have to work 10
that's
hours
badass.
to pay your bills?
Yeah.
That says it. That sums it up right there. That freaking sums it up. And everybody's got to have a place to stay.
That's right.
You just got to present the opportunity to them.
Right.
And then everything else falls into play.
Again, with you mentioned the border, you mentioned we're talking about the migration, other things with what's just going on. The point
And that's
is,
part of the cheese moving.
and
as
the
we
more
speak.
expensive the houses get, the higher interest. There's that whole rent market. The bottom line is people have to have a place to stay.
I told this to a friend of mine, Catherine, and I'm like, listen, I'm about ready to go to Big Five and buy up all the tents because there's going to be a shake someday.
Yep.
And that stuff's going to hit, right? And so, as I'm going through my transition right now, it's kind of a personal thing, but I'm going to have some extra opportunity in play, but I want to do that smartly.
Right.
I don't just want to just say, oh, let's go do 4 or 5 of those and flip this and that. I'd rather flip a switch and watch that machine turn on and get a lot from a little that you talked about versus.
I think you're going to see also, I know Pasadena's doing this. They just approved this development. I think the average size of the rooms of the apartments are 250 square feet.
Get the hell
Did you
out
guys
of here.
see that? Yeah, there's like 200
What?
of them they're building. But the idea is that they're going to sell them. But the idea is that the price point is to be so much lower because they're more efficiency. Think of what the basics of what you need. Remember, 1950, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house was standard.
common, yeah.
and
Family of 5.
900 square feet. Yeah, I raised a family of 4.
Remember your
in that.
grandma's house,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right?
Versus
Southgate.
2,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Well,
We've upsized not only the food that we eat, the housing that we're in today.
Yeah.
My daughter would appreciate what you just said, Alyssa. She is a minimalist.
Oh, yeah.
She needs less square footage, less this and less everything. And she saves more money on the corner. And I'm just like, that's the kid I know right there, right?
That's a good one.
Or on the other side, you got people, well, if I don't buy that, buy this, get that. You're talking about the RV wash.
yeah.
Let's bathe in somebody else's misery, right? It's similar, am I right?
Yeah,
but they're going to start selling these little 250 square
Yeah, and that one they're doing
Wow.
that. What I was just going at is I think you're going to see that. You're hearing about the tiny home villages.
Yeah.
The
Netflix
ADUs
has one.
on trailers. A friend
What?
of mine's importing them from Mexico. He actually builds them in Monterrey, Mexico. Builds these in. They're the was it HUD compliant? I think it's HUD.
Okay.
They're all 50 states, et cetera. But they're
Wow.
basically look like a Connex on wheels.
It's like one of those Home Depot sheds.
Pretty much. Well, yeah, but it looks more like the trailer in the back of a truck. But it's converted.
wow.
I've been in them. Has a mini split. Has
Get the heck
has
outta
a
here.
bathroom, kitchenette, and
And a generator.
no solar.
Okay.
Solar,
okay.
and then you hook it up to whatever property you're on. I think you're going to see more people
Of
doing
that.
that type of thing as well, because they can be moved rather quickly as well, and put 3 on a property where allowed, 4 or 5, or someone taking.
Is it
property developing.
is it right to say that maybe we should also look into buying plots of property?
Not in California.
Not, I was going to say not
It's
in
all,
California.
everything to connect to is
Yeah, the development cost in California is cost prohibitive.
It's like 400 a square foot. You
Unless
gotta
they
be
do
kidding me.
something about it, like they have been with the ADUs, they'd have to get
Georgia.
that mindset. But
Development per square foot is $71.
Yeah, and you can get your permits and be ready and start building in
Right.
60 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Takes north of a year in
Yeah.
most cities
Yeah,
in California.
exactly. And some of their private lenders are giving these bundles to encourage people to come in at 5.75. The coolest thing about what we just did in Georgia is that we're giving these properties to there's a military base 15 minutes away,
yeah,
and they got to cycle those guys out every 4 years, right? Talking about making money for life. That is what we're going to be doing with these 4 new properties we're
Right.
purchasing. I mean, we got to purchase them, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff that's around it looks like, you know, I wouldn't buy that house for Halloween, you know.
Right.
So we're going to newer developments and
Sure.
catering to the military that's going to
I
rent
like
those properties.
I like everything about that plan but one,
What's that?
and that is you're going to have to turn that house every 4 years. You would be better to rent that house to somebody who provides some service to the military.
and
because-
master lease it.
You mean the
That or
plumber?
something?
No,
The
I mean
plumber?
like the plumber. Rent the house to the guy that's a plumber, or the school teacher, the dressmaker, whatever it is. Somebody, that barber. God, those people
For the military.
yeah. So they've got a job for life, right?
For life, right. And they got a decent house to live in, too.
So how long? What average tenancy do you want?
Right.
Mine normally runs about 12 years.
12 years for yours.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I see my houses once a year.
Okay.
In December, I come and I bring a Christmas present.
Thanks for the money. And let me do an inspection. Here's your
Basically,
Christmas present, right?
If, you know, here, Merry Christmas, and if they don't invite me in for a cup of coffee, I ask to go potty.
I love that.
Either way, I get a
dig it.
no-notice inspection.
Yeah. No notice inspection.
And on
Very
his LA properties,
slick.
you can just go potty in the yard. Don't have to worry about it.
If one of my tenants said go pee in the yard, I think I'd find a new tenant. So
Well,
That's
San
hilarious,
Francisco.
man.
I'm sorry. Maybe
Right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
all,
that's
it's all
San
blur
Francisco.
now. It's a blur now. Sorry.
That's
big
interesting.
cities
12
are
years. So
scary.
you have a term of 12.
That's what.
That's
yeah.
very cool.
If you're moving into my house, it's going to take. We'll spend 90 minutes on the rental agreement.
Yep.
We read every page, not
Yeah.
sign, not push hard, sign. There's 5 copies. No. We go through and read everything. We discuss it, and in that 90 minutes, they're going to agree to only leave my house on a gurney. I literally tell that to every tenant I put in a house. I said, I expect you to stay in this house until the gurney takes you away. And if that's not what you expect to do, let's move you on to somebody else.
Moving on to somebody else. Interesting. Wow, I really like your formula in your head. I love the things that you're telling me. You know, I'm going to be your next best friends, right? We're going to come out and do a little talking, you know.
Come play with us. Come play with us tomorrow,
Okay, so it's Thursdays,
noon to 2.
noon to 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've walked
Riverside?
Out of there. Yeah,
Riverside?
Riverside. Yeah.
Okay.
It's right by Hunter Park.
And it's $35 a month.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cheap as hell. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then we
My
do. We said basically the first Monday. The Wednesdays are broken down into different focus groups every Wednesday night. The first Wednesday night is anything related to long-term, mid-term, or short-term rentals. The second Wednesday is anything wholesaling and flipping. I do a lot of mentoring on that with a buddy of mine, Jim Keller. And then Andy and Goodwin on the third Wednesday do anything related to creative financing and deal structuring, and they do that on the third Wednesday of every month. And the fourth Wednesdays we do various things, but the exchangers that he's talking about every Thursday, that literally is doing. You're watching pure capitalism and partaking right there. And the neat thing about it is anything you agree to, then it's all doing your due diligence.
Sure.
So if they, hey, Steve, that looks good. I think that looks good. We got a deal. And then we, later, next couple of weeks, go through everything and either consummate the deal or we don't. Or we go, no, sorry, it's a little different than you said.
Or I'm looking for a renter. Anybody know anybody?
Yeah,
That's the network right there.
That's occasionally, that would be the haves and wants. But
the haves and wants.
typically, we've got one side of the sheet is going to be real estate that people want to either sell or exchange. Another side of the sheet is going to be notes. People that either have a note that they're interested in selling or they have a note they need to create. The other side of the sheet is going to be cash. People that have cash, IRA money that they would like to put to work, they'll put it up there. And then on the final side is stuff, and that's, you never know what's going to land on stuff.
It's just open. Yeah.
Give you an idea of a deal. We picked up a property there in the desert that someone else in the club had, and they had subtued it. I don't know if they foreclosed on a note or something. They picked up a property, and they basically traded it to us for the next 5-6 wholesale deals. I just didn't give them the next 5 or 6 wholesale deals, and they handed us the property. Had so much debt on it, and we just started making the payment and spent a lot of money rehabbing it. And then, and that came out of that. And then when we were done, we're selling it for $300,000. But because they're mobile homes on land and 20 acres, you weren't getting
20 acres.
Financing was a little tricky. So we got a buyer out of LA. They had $220,000 cash or $225,000. And they wanted us to carry a note. And we said, okay. So we basically got all of our money back, and we're break even with the cash. But then we created an $80,000 note, a $75,000 note, and we were going, oh, this is at 7 or 8%, plenty of equity, great security, and we could keep it. And we thought about keeping it, but this is where our profit was. And so we then went to exchangers and said, hey, we got this great note for $80,000, it's paying, et cetera. I think we sold it for I think I told Rich I want $65,000 for it. So someone bought a discounted note, got it, and they're into it $65,000 on a $300,000 house. Great position for them, get great cash flow, and we got all of our money out of it. And so we did the front and the back end of the deal was one way or the other related to exchangers that we would never have done 5 years before. I would have just bought it somehow, either on the market or off market through a postcard, and then just sold it on the market, and we're done. Oh, sorry, you don't have the money, you don't have the financing, too bad.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be fun.
That's very cool, man. So you like repeating that?
Yeah, and I learned that from this guy here, so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to have lots of good conversations, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
This is spectacular. This is probably one of the best shows I've ever done because I've been pre-educated, if you will, and there's a lot more I can tell you where this is coming from. So
right. Well, one of the things that, when Andy says, or one of my other mentors would say about don't flip, is that how I look at it is that I do have various buckets. I have very different companies, and so I have some that are buy and hold. And the job of that is to find the best buy and hold. And now I'm doing something that's more with investing in notes, et cetera.
And then you make income off the buy and hold.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then the companies that we own that we flip in, their job is to flip and make money, quick cash. So they are not buying buy and holds. They're okay. So
that's a cash corporation, and the other one's an accrual corporation. So they can make as much as they want.
Right. And there are sometimes that one of the because I have commissions to pay and say partnerships, and I have so much that I have to turn that money a certain way. So I'm not buying just buy and holds everywhere and holding. Those have to turn the money, and so that's why I continue to flip. But personally, my wife and I and some of our companies, we buy and hold. We don't flip. In our personal companies, we buy and hold and do notes, and that's it. So that's why you'll see some people, and I'm not alone in that, a lot of people do that, versus someone that just keeps flipping, or someone like Andy that doesn't flip. We have different buckets and different purposes. If I borrow money from you to do something, and you're a high interest rate. Well, I got to turn that, and the best way to do that is say flip and wholesale. So I do that with the money. I can't go have a long-term rental and make a few $100 if it's a higher interest. It just doesn't work.
Right, exactly.
Or I give the money back. So we have different purposes and different lenders and investors and partners to do different things.
So you have other buckets that are people with money. These other people want to purpose the money instead of holding it, because holding it doesn't make you any money. You got to make money with your money.
You lose
right?
money.
You lose money when you don't want to put it in a freaking bank. They're
Idle
just going
cash is a sin.
Cash is a sin, exactly.
Idle cash is a sin.
You know, a bank's going to take your money and loan it out for 10% somewhere else, right? So it doesn't make sense. Right. So that being said, there's purposes, and I like that, of certain strategies that you guys have implemented, and you're buy and hold. You maybe pull that out of your flip money, and
any of the money we make at our other
so
stuff.
So you build up your cash to buy and hold something cheaper, and then you fix it up, rehab it, and maybe you get a note on it next, right?
We'll refinance and get our money back. And
hey, Steve, bring that 3% back, will you? Tell your guys to hurry the hell up, right? I mean, that's just fantastic, man. I can't thank you enough. You guys, first and foremost. Sorry, Steve, we didn't give you a
You get to talk a lot.
Oh no, I talk plenty. That's fine.
Today was a sabbatical. He was going to let his voice kind of hang out and do what he does. But, I can't thank you guys enough. Just from this, hour and a half, I have learned more strategies, if you will. I kind of had it in the back of my mind, but I didn't know how to put two and two together. And I think in this club, I'm going to learn that.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to hang out with you for a minute. And then I'm definitely going to hang out with you, because we have some things that may benefit you as well.
Sure.
Knowledge is power, right? Without knowledge, we all suck,
Right.
So we can, elaborate and share and triangulate whatever you want to do, as long as it benefits everybody. I always have this one thing. It says, as long as everybody can come to the trough and eat, it's a good thing. If you just want to eat yourself, that's not a good thing.
Right.
Everybody's got to benefit from the trough. Does that make sense?
Pigs get fat.
There's a reason.
Hogs get slaughtered.
Hogs get slaughtered. I just want to be pig, But anyways, that's just so many positive things from you guys. I can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, this has been fun.
It's been fun.
I mean, if you guys want to do something over there, if you're thinking about, kind of getting something crazy, this stuff is portable, FYI.
Well, they're actually all set up over there.
Oh, they got it all done?
Yeah, the owner of that club is really into the
Is he a techie like me?
He is. He's a
okay. All right, maybe we can chat with this guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Give some stories. But Steve, I'm just sorry we didn't let you have a word or two.
Oh no, I get to say what I need to say.
All right.
One thing about these two gentlemen here, they are so selfless in that they don't mind helping other people. People come into their lives that know nothing about real estate. They come to the meetings for the first time, and they spend so much of their time teaching for free and helping these people. I've seen, with my own eyes, people come in and, within a very short period of time, they're already doing deals and things like that because they needed guidance. They needed a path to follow. And between the two of them, they allowed these people to follow that path. There's
a strange thing that I talk about all the time. It's the universe, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody really knows anything about the universe, right? It is what it is. I feel like a sea monkey. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you're a kid, you get to look in the little thing and we're sea monkeys. But when the stars align, right? And when you put your selfless, as Steve said, and you don't expect anything out of anything, and I'm that guy too, that I'll just kind of let it out there. You just kind of give it away.
I'm not. I teach people because people that understand me are all dying. I mean, so many of my friends, they're all in their 80s, and we lose them.
We lost several last year.
Yeah, the last couple of years have been horrible.
Yeah.
So what I figured out is if I don't teach people what the hell I'm talking about, I'm not going to have anybody to talk to in the next 20 years.
Well, this kind of lines up with that too. And I tell people it's similar to what you just said. If I don't share my stories if I don't give the information that I've learned from somebody else who gave me a leg up, I firmly believe this, I'm going to get Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to give it all away, right? I mean,
it.
the universe works really crazy that way. If you don't pay it forward, and if you don't help somebody get out of that ditch, you might be there.
Yep.
You also learn
reverse.
you learn by teaching. I have people ask me a question, and I was like, I didn't think about that. That is
right.
Where were you 3 months ago? You know,
The light bulb came on,
and
right?
so that's how I learn more, just by going. I don't know that answer, which is a lot of the times, but I know someone that might. So
Guys, first and foremost, Steve, thanks again, man. I mean, this is really powerful to me, and I know other people that are listening, they're going to utilize these efforts, and they're going to head out to this place, and I'm going to talk the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to bring other people to this circle. Hopefully, you guys might want to get a stage or something. You got a stage? You're going to get one. But this is powerful stuff. This is the simple, logistics in life that everybody needs to learn in high school.
You're right.
I'm so sorry. And shame on the educators that are not teaching this kind of stuff.
well, they don't know either. Majority of them don't. So
it's been interesting. My 90-year-old retired school teacher father started coming to Exchangers about 6 months ago.
yeah.
And he is so interested and involved now from what he was. Because it used to be, all this stuff you do is crazy. I don't want to know about it. And now he's there. He's at meetings every Thursday.
Can't get enough.
Oh, he's having a ball.
He's taking roll.
He's
Billy,
he's doing good.
Stanley, that's fantastic,
Yep.
man. Well, you're going to see me there.
Good.
And I'm going to be one of your new members.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. So first and foremost, Evan, thanks for everything that you did. Sure. The information you brought to this table, you've actually, there's this why. It's a funnel, right? You've opened doors in my funnel that's now going to help me go down the right path. And then you and I are going to collaborate a lot. Andy, I mean, hello. Holy shit, Batman! You were not lying to me. This guy and it's such a simple process, and then you make it simple. You kiss and miss it. Make it simple, keep it simple, right? And then probably the way you teach is these hooks that come out and make you wake up and say, "This is what I was trying to tell you."
Right.
And here you are, and then you're putting these things together, and you learning from the same source just kind of open your doors too, right?
Right.
So you can't get enough information, can you?
No, never.
Okay.
Our friend Peter has taken a real estate education class, a good one, at least once a month since 1969.
1969. Wow.
He's still teaching.
And he
Still teaching.
Takes his class.
Yeah, we'll be in Vegas with him next month.
Oh, okay. All right. Teach you all the ins and outs and things that are coming and going, and that 5-year block you talked about, right?
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all part of it. Anything you want to say before we go?
I hope all of you come and join us at the Inland Empire Real Estate Investors Club, IEREIC.org. And
sign up. It's $35. You kidding me?
And there's some of those meetings are on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
But it's better in person.
Okay. Very, very cool.
Definitely better in person. And then also one of the events is a lunch every Tuesday. We call it Mick's Lunch from 12 to 2. Mick Blackwell started it about 30 years ago, even though he's no longer here. The club now, it's on the schedule with the club. They keep it going. And that's unless I'm traveling or I literally cannot get out of it or I'm in jail. I am at that meeting.
I'll give you get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I'm at that meeting. Otherwise, it's something that changed my life sitting at that table.
It became a religion for you.
That's where I met Steven.
Wow.
And it's something that goes on, rain or shine, every Tuesday, 12 to 2 at Chino Cafe on Riverside Avenue in Chino.
We're going to learn a lot from you guys. First and foremost, thanks again for everything. I appreciate your knowledge, your experience, and just throwing in a plethora of solutions. I actually had a blast, man. This is really fun for
these
me.
are fun.
Yeah, these are really, really cool. And I look forward to maybe doing a round 2 one day.
Sure.
Maybe we can do a secondary and come back to this focus again. Steve,
Yes, sir.
This guy has little words, am I right? But when he speaks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He's got a radio voice, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, you totally do. I told you, Steve. Look at this. Quit
Thank
smiling. You know, it is what it is. But I can't thank you enough and the partners that you work with for putting this together. You know, you want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, we just have a great mentorship all the way around. Next month, I'm having another person from the club, and he specializes in house hacking. What is house hacking?
House
It's basically
hacking, wow.
where you take a house and you rent out the house by the room instead of the whole house.
Get the
to
heck
one.
out of
Yeah.
here. They do that?
They do that.
Wow.
And you'll be surprised now because of the cost of real estate. I notice a lot of people are doing house hacking without even realizing it, because in order to make the mortgage payment, I have people close to me, they live in one room and they're renting out all the other bedrooms, and that's making their house payment. So they're house hackers without even knowing it.
Without even knowing it.
Yeah, so we're going to have that person. And then in January, we're having another person from the club who specializes in the mobile homes, and especially with the renovation, carrying back notes on mobile homes, doing flips, things like that. And that's all she does. They don't do any, stick-built type of homes. And I can say from personal experience how good the club is for me, just because of the relationships I've developed in this past year. I have done more business through the club than I have in my entire other JOB for the whole year.
J-O-B. Here it is, right?
Yeah, that's
Son
really
of a
something.
gun. Son of a gun.
And then if
House hacking. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. So
I think my kids hacked me. They don't even paying rent. Damn it. I got kid hacked.
yeah. But if anybody, has any questions about today's thing we've done here, or about the people who've been here talking, please just go to my website at financialbrokers.net. That's financialbrokers.net. And if you need any information about any lending questions, or just to review our disclosures, please visit the website, give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Steve, you're a gentleman and a scholar. I thank you 1,000% over. My heart's with you, man. We're really good partners now, and I can't thank you for the relationship you've brought to me and these two fine gentlemen today that just extended my network. Hello. Now, it's good to have a smile on your face, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
got to have that smile. But as well as you can get the Energy Hour podcast on your favorite apps. We're on iHeartRadio, Clear Channel, Spotify, Google, Amazon. You can even go to your Google or Alexa and say, hey, play the Energy Hour podcast. We'll start playing. This is going to be episode 66. That's like a good number, isn't it? 6 and 6 is 12.
Works.
That's a good Chinese number.
Works for me.
Yeah. Thanks again for closing out, everybody. I appreciate you. And we're going to see you at the where?
Inland Empire Real Estate Investors Club,
Okay.
www.iereic.org.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you hanging out at the Energy Hour podcast.
Thank you for listening to The Energy Hour. Visit them on the internet by going to qhiinc.com/TEO. That's qhiinc.com/TEO.
Solaria. Beauty, efficiency, and power. For nearly 20 years, Solaria has set the pace for solar panel performance, efficiency, reliability, quality, and design. Solaria continues to leverage its patented technology, engineering expertise, and sophisticated automation into creating one of the most attractive, energy-efficient solar panels available on the market today. Redefining home solar. Solaria's high-output solar panels deliver maximum energy production in a streamlined, all-black design that complements your home's architectural style with more than 20% more energy per square meter than traditional solar panels. Solaria's advanced Power XT panels pack maximum power into minimum space for industrial leading efficiency. Enjoy clean, reliable power day in and day out, backed by our 25-year warranty. Solaria is the new benchmark for solar energy. Quality you can trust for your home and business. For more information, go to qhinc.com/Solaria.
This podcast is brought to you by Aliva Digital Marketing, lead generation and SEO for local businesses. Increase your web presence with their results in advanced strategy, including a video website audit and analysis for free. Listeners of this podcast can get 75% off Aliva's fees. But hurry, only the first 5 businesses that inquire can get this deal. Aliva Digital Marketing, a proud sponsor of this podcast. Online at alivadigital.com.
Capture the joyful magic of the holiday season with Virtual Santa. Virtual Santa is a high-definition projection effect that walks, waves, laughs, eats cookies, and puts presents under the tree. From outside, it's so real, you swear Santa's in your house. Virtual Santa, originally seen on ABC's The Great Christmas Light Fight. You can choose from traditional Virtual Santa or new African American Santa. Holiday effects include Virtual Santa, Mrs. Claus, Santa's Workshop with Christmas elves, and so much more. Buy one effect or a bundle. Available in HD DVD, digital download, or USB flash drive. Also available in LED projection bundles. For a winning Christmas display that will delight your neighbors young and old, visit us at virtualsanta.com and become known as the house where Santa lives. Virtual Santa, where holiday spirit begins.